Short story by Paul McCann. Wee Ones of the Mist. Once upon a time, before the mists had cleared, there was a mystical place in the heart of Kelts County called Orloskammuckandoo. The people who lived there had simple lives. They often spoke about days to come when the mist would clear and they would see for the first time the land beyond their mountain home. One quiet night, as the moon shone down on Orloskammuckandoo, a shimmer of light raced across the northern skyline. Shooting stars dressed up the night sky as they raced across to a distant horizon. Nestled in the Allakapak Mountains was the lake that provided all the needs for both of the people and the animals in the area. The lake lay there like a mirror, cradled by Pogle's Valley. On one side of the lake was the magic forest where the wee ones lived. The king of the wee ones, Papalapakap, his daughter's name was Ellie. She always looked so sad because she had no voice. There was nothing anyone could do for the princess to make her happy. So she had everything she could ever want. Lovely clothes, the best food. In fact, she had the best of everything, but she still had no voice. And she was lonely and sad. Every night the princess would be found stargazing. The king was very worried about this, and one evening he asked her what she was looking at. She took a stick of charcoal and wrote down on a slate, "I want a silver castle in the sky." Now as the king laughed and laughed, Ellie never even blinked. She pointed to her message again and again. The king tried to cheer her up and asked all the small animals of the woods to come and dance for Ellie. Dogs came a-walking with clogs a-tapping, and cats came along with socks and frocks, but to no avail. The princess just sat looking up at the sky. The king sent for clowns to come, and so in came the clowns, with their hands a-clapping and their feet a-slipping and tapping and their smiles a-beaming. Still, the princess was sad. All over Orloskammuckandoo they came to cheer up the princess, bringing her gifts. There were dolls a-talking and balls a-bouncing. There were even a crown a-shining on her head. Still, the princess was sad. Nothing seemed to work. The king sent out all his messengers all over Kelt County and searched for anything or anyone who could make his daughter happy. So the wee ones went out with all their whispers into the dense woods and beyond the valley and the lake. The whispers were carried by the wind, and all the small animals carried the word from the king. The squirrels and foxes raced through the woods, and the dolphins and fish through the seas. The birds and the butterflies went through the air with the king's message. Every night, the small animals would return to the king with no answer. One night, there was a magic feeling that was felt all over the land. Without any warning, from out of the northern sky, a silver mist fell down upon the lake, and many had said it looked like a castle in the middle of the lake. On that very night, Princess Ellie had disappeared. For weeks and weeks, King Papalapakap looking at the sky, calling his daughter's name. The king was heartbroken. He decided that he would go and search for her. On foot he made his way through the magic forest, and he walked on and on until he came to the edge of the mist. As King Papalapakap walked through the mist, he found himself in a scarlet rose garden, where the perfume overpowered him and sent him into a deep sleep. When he awoke, he was helped to his feet by a gardener who said his name was Percy. The king asked Percy if he had seen a beautiful girl called Ellie. Percy just smiled and clicked his fingers. Suddenly butterflies and birds floated from rose to rose and brought soft petals over and laid them at the feet of the king. The petals all changed colour, and in a moment they turned into the wings of butterflies that flew away. Bees from honey hives surrounded the king, and their buzzing tickled his ears. The buzzing grew louder and louder until it deafened the king. He could not hear a thing, until to his delight and amazement, the next sound that he heard was the soft singing of his daughter Ellie, who took him by the hand into the Scarlet Garden. The whispers in the woods have said that when the mist clears and the stars fall down from the sky, then the king and the princess will return again to the magic forest. That's the end of the story.